Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another fresh out of the movie theater edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade. Welcome to another SMS spooky season video where today I just got through watching The Conjuring Last Rites. This is the fourth installment in I guess the main Conjuring series, even though there's been like several spin-offs. I don't know off the top of my head how many there have been, but there have been a lot. We've had those, I believe there's been 3 Annabelle movies, 2 Nun movies, and 1 La Llorona movie. So what is that? That's six spin-offs as well. So I believe this makes 10 movies, and this is supposedly the one that's going to end it all, the last ever Conjuring Universe movie we're ever going to get. So naturally, I couldn't be more excited, and that's despite the fact that this is a horror franchise. Like literally any long-running horror franchise that goes, that runs for more than a decade, it's had its ups and downs. Some have been better than others. Of course, the first 2 movies, in my opinion, remain the best. Ever since then, they haven't really been able to, recapture lightning in a bottle. But I've still, for the most part, enjoyed. I feel like the majority of the movies to come after it, or at least even if I didn't like love, some of the movies to come after Conjuring 1 or 2, 2 particularly is my favorite. I've still, it's just kind of like fun haunted house, fun thrills, fun scares sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, the very last Conjuring film, the third one that came before this one, The Devil Made Me Do It, that was one where I do recall being genuinely disappointed in that one. I felt that it tried to do a little bit too much in too little time, because it was I think that one was like hour 50 minutes. Tried a little bit too hard to kind of like have it both ways with being this horror film, and of course like you have the legal side of it, the courtroom drama. And yes, I know, according to the true story, that was the first time that someone ever claimed demonic possession as motivation for murder, so you have to have the court drama and all that, but it just really didn't gel with me. So I am happy to report that with this latest installment that I just got through watching, that I did enjoy this overall a bit more than The Devil Made Me Do It, and I think that is because we're back to basics with Last Rites. There's no claim of demonic possession within the court, so all the legal stuff is gone. This is your bare bones, basic haunted house possession film. We once again have ourselves a family living in a house where some spooky shit is going on, and the Warrens have to step in to save the day and help the family, and that's all I wanted from this film. Now, I will say that no, it doesn't reach the heights of The Conjuring 2, which is my favorite. I like that one more than the first Conjuring. I know the first Conjuring was the one where everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is so scary. This is so terrifying. Oh my God, it's based on a true story. It's traumatic." But The Conjuring 2 is the one for me. That movie still scares the shit out of me to this day, and it's overdue for an SMS review. I got to get to that one of these days, hopefully this year. But anyway, that's the one that's like peak Conjuring Universe for me. It took its time, because that next to this one and The Conjuring 2 actually have the same runtime, 2 hours and 16 minutes, I believe. Next to this one, it's the longest film in the franchise. There's a lot of build-up. There's a slow burn. You really get to know everybody before the shit goes down. It's perfect. It really, really works for me. And here, thankfully they do the same thing. It's not just like boom, scare, now we're at the end. They really do take their time in setting up the story, setting up the characters, all that good stuff. It's not scare after scare after scare. When the scary shit that you want to see does go down, it actually is, for the most part, quite effective, and so for that I couldn't be more grateful. However, I do say it does take time to set up characters, but you really don't get to know this particular family here, I feel as much as you did with the other families from those first two Conjuring films, where you really get the time to know them. And hell, I even feel like with The Devil Made Me Do It, because the whole thing was, this guy committed a murder, but he claimed to be possessed, at least in real life, and in the film he actually was possessed. You got to know him better. Here they do, like, you spend like a hot minute with the family before the shit starts to go down, but I really didn't like. I found myself like being kind of apathetic to their plight, them being inflicted with this. Whereas with The Conjuring 2 particularly, I really did grow to care for that family over the time. They really just don't have that solid character development here, so that's one strike against it. And also I did say that the scares were effective. There are some things in this film that did get to me, but once again, comparing it to those first two films, particularly two, that I really did love, I feel like here the issue is, and I can't spoil anything, I gotta be super vague. Let's just say, and I think this is the case for a lot of Conjuring films, there's always like, the big bad entity that the Warrens have to tackle, but before they get to the big bad entity, they have to tackle the big baddies, like henchmen, if you will. Here, it's a case of the henchmen actually being much more creepy and much more ominous and much more threatening than who the big baddie turns out to be. I found myself going like, wait, show more of those henchmen, show more of those pawns, because they're actually really fucking creepy looking and really fucking threatening, because it's people in very elaborate horror makeup, and it was actually very effective. There's one particular guy that I was like, show more of that guy. He's barely in it, but every time he came on, I had like this massive grin in my face because on my face because he was just so creepy looking and super effective, and it was very badass when he came on. And also, those were some of the scenes of the movie that got to me the most. But unfortunately, none of them are really in the movie for that long, because we have to take down the big baddie. And I felt like with the big baddie here, it was rather anticlimactic, and I was kind of thinking to myself when it was clear that we were at the climax, and then after the climax again, I was kind of thinking to myself, that's all we get? Oh well. So wrapping it up, all that's to say that even though I did thoroughly, this is an improvement over The Devil Made Me Do It, and I know it's the same director. A lot more was left to be desired. I could have used better character development for that family, so I could really sympathize with what they were going through here. I could have used more like creepiness and more horror and terror overall, because again, the pawns, the secondary haunts in the movie, the secondary villains were much more interesting than that primary antagonist. So I wish time was spent in building up that antagonist so it could be as horrific as they were telling us that it was. But that really isn't the case. So yeah, Conjuring Last Rites doesn't get anywhere close to Conjuring 2 for me. That's still the best film in this franchise by far, in my opinion. But it's an improvement over The Devil Made Me Do It. It's one of the better installments that come out, in recent years, because we've had a lot of misses. We've had Annabelle, we've had The Nun, we've had The Curse of La Llorona. So, it goes out on a pretty decent note. It's not going out on an all-time high. I feel like it is kind of that Halloween Ends promise, where they just, it's another horror film that really just didn't quite find its footing, maybe trying to, include a little bit too much, but not really pay enough of it off. But nonetheless, I really did have a blast with this one. There were moments where it did get to me. The scares were effective, but nothing as effective as those first two films. So wrapping it up, I'm going to go ahead and give The Conjuring Last Rites, I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. I was going to go 6.5, but there were a lot of effective moments here. There were a lot of things that I enjoyed. There were, there were actually surprisingly a handful of heartfelt moments that were sincere. So it's a 7 out of 10 for The Conjuring Last Rites. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, but it's not as great as Conjuring 2. This has been another SMS edition of Wade Watches, and I will see you lovely people next time with more spooky season goodness. Peace.